Good morning. No need to do a plug. Chris did that very kindly for me. Today I've slightly changed the title around as the integration of digital and direct mail. Obviously, over the course of my speech today, hopefully it will give light to the huge importance of the integration of both those marketing mediums. The current postal industry, as John mentioned earlier, has been on a steady decline over the past years. Over the last couple of years, we've looked at a steady decline of up to about 3% last year, looking at, hold that right up a little bit, looking at about 6%. And then obviously onto the future, I think John had about 8.8%. But obviously, this is clearly due to the evolvement of electronic communications within the industry and how the consumer generally perceives them. There are two main ways in which digital, I believe, can be integrated with direct mail. The first I'm going to talk about is the integration of digital technology into a direct mail piece, in obviously enhancing the quality of it. Secondly, we'll look at the integration of digital marketing and direct mail as complementary media types. Right, to look at the integration of digital technology to enhance the quality of a direct mail piece, obviously many companies have been utilising this method of direct marketing for some time now, and with great effect. By integrating digital technology into DM, we're talking about obviously fully personalised mail pieces to an individual. This is obviously done by compiling consumer data over a period of time. There are many ways of doing this. Obviously, I'm sure you'll be aware of your Boots loyalty card or Nectar points. Sky obviously do a very similar thing. And that's stored on the company's database. So that obviously this information can then be used to compile a direct mail piece specially aimed at the individual. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say that Chris Phillips went to Mallorca last year, stayed in a 5-star resort with a golf course and a spa. Now, from this information, his travel agent should be able to compile a similar brochure the following year, including that same hotel, but with maybe a compilation of other 5-star resorts with golf courses and spas in similar locations. Now, this sort of digitally produced piece of direct mail will obviously have a much higher return on investment than a standard brochure would, whilst also obviously being more environmentally friendly, as the marketer's targeting consumers with a proposition that they either know they'll be interested in or will have already purchased. Obviously, digital printing within the mailing house allows you to utilise a full database of client information and to tailor that mail piece to every individual you're sending it to. Obviously, I think it was Anthony that was mentioning that mailing sizes are decreasing, even though more marketers are taking advantage of direct mail. This is obviously be an impact of using a digital form, but obviously more campaigns can be sent out over the same year. Just moving on to the integration of digital marketing into direct mail as complementary media. Anthony kind of touched on it very clearly in what he was saying earlier, with the younger generation being very headstrong on electronic forms. We'll come to that in a moment. Looking last year, obviously the big R, the economic recession, hit marketing budgets quite heavily, and you know, marketing budgets were squeezed and cut, and retention became the main focus for many organisations out there. Now, retention files are obviously historically far smaller than your general acquisition files, which is obviously the perfect opportunity for companies to move away from direct mail and to focus their strengths on different forms of digital marketing. Actually, according to a recent Royal Mail customer study, this has apparently led to around 64% of people now ignoring the emails that are coming through to them, obviously due to higher levels of spam filters and higher levels of spam themselves. I think this is a typical example where, without an integrated approach, you're automatically losing 60% of your audience. 2010 is looking like a very different year. Looking, obviously, companies are focusing much more on the acquisition side of things. Retention is obviously still a very key part of any marketing budget. Digital forms of communication are obviously very useful for client retention, but direct mail has always outperformed on acquisition campaigns. It's tried and tested throughout the years. It's always never beaten on return on investment. And as we all know, return on investment is a key performance indicator in most business operations. In the same customer study, it was also indicated that there can be up to 25% increase in return on investment when companies do integrate their direct mail campaigns with different forms of digital advertising. The report also states that 70% believe that direct mail is a valuable marketing tool in supporting these other forms of digital marketing. Just to give you a quick example of that, in fact, just the other day I received a DM piece from Internet World. I left it on my desk, paid no real attention to it until the next morning I received an email from Internet World, at which point obviously it triggered me to pick up that mail piece, open it up and have a look at it. I have to say, if I'd just received a DM piece, it probably would have found its way to the bin. And likewise, if I'd just received an email, it would have found its way to my junk email box. I have compiled a few other of the stats shown in this consumer survey just to show how obviously the integration of different forms of marketing can increase your return on investment by 25%. Obviously, over 50% of people think the direct mail gives a better impression of a company, a more professional view possibly. 71% rather receive vouchers, brochures and catalogues, spelt correctly. Just shown, obviously, with Anthony's movie at the very end, how those sort of 15-year-old young adults sort of view when they receive a voucher or a VIP pass to a club through the post. It instigates them maybe going down there. 69% of people prefer to receive sensitive material by mail. I'm sure letters from hospitals and things like that. Obviously, you don't want to receive that through an email, or it might find its way to somebody else. As I mentioned before, 64% ignore their emails now, and 66% prefer to receive detailed information by direct mail. This, on the flip side, is here where 80% at the bottom there believe that email is obviously used for short messages and offers, but also as a follow-up to a direct mail campaign. A few other figures there. Just really to conclude very quickly, I mean, all forms of marketing have their positives and negatives. Going back to the statistic mentioned earlier of 64% of people not even opening their marketing emails without a form of direct mail to accompany it. Effectively, what I'm trying to say is that if all marketers focus on just one media type, they're inevitably going to be, firstly, losing out on the 64% of people ignoring those emails. I feel personally that if an email marketer focuses only on that form of marketing, eventually that'll become 100% and they'll be losing their entire marketing audience. The only way to stop this occurring is obviously to embrace all forms of marketing, being far more innovative in their integration together, and targeting consumers, obviously, who want to be targeted. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, James. We're running a little bit behind schedule, so we'll crack on with the next speaker straight away, and that's Steve Hannon, Chief Executive, Postal and Logistics Consulting Worldwide. Steve has nearly 40 years' experience in the mail industry